What up, HyperChange? Today we are talking about Arcimoto. This is Storytime. This is a case study that I invested in and started covering on the channel 4 years ago. Joined the board of directors and was on the board of directors for a year and a half. I since have been long gone from that for over a year and a half now. And I kind of want to do a post-mortem on Arcimoto. What happened? What went wrong? I could talk about my winners all day. Tesla, crypto, SpaceX, but there's also important to mention your losers. What did you learn? I want to be transparent, and I know a lot of people who follow the channel follow Arcimoto and want to know what's up. And I want to just give the whole story because I couldn't really talk about Arcimoto when I joined the board or after. It's just a sensitive issue. So, like once you work for a company, you can't really just talk about it on YouTube. So I learned a lot about like that. Let's just start with it because I started making videos. I mean, first of all, here's the chart of Arcimoto. Not crushing it, as you can see. Arcimoto IPOing, skyrocketing in the 2021 hype. Galley joins the board of directors right around here, leaves the board of directors right around here, hit over $1 billion valuation. And at one point, and I actually have a funny story about that, but and they sell this like little 3-wheel electric vehicle, which is super dope. I thought it had a ton of potential, kind of like a fancy electrified golf cart, micro-mobility to get around cities. I don't know. And you know me, I love sustainability. I love new ideas. I love thinking outside the box. And I was fascinated by this company when I first found it. And I actually made this video, Will Arcimoto Survive? Almost out of cash. This was 4 years ago, January 6, 2019. There's just one problem. The company almost ran out of cash at the end of 2018. They raised $4.5 million, but that'll only last them for a quarter or two. So I basically made this whole video about how Arcimoto was almost out of cash. We can even play, this is some OG shit right here.
Welcome to another episode. Today we're talking about Arcimoto. This is an electric vehicle.
They were losing huge amounts of guap, as you can see. And I basically pointed that out, saying they have 1 or 2 quarters left of money. I don't think they're going to make it. They have a cool little product, but it's going to be tough. Who comments on my video? We have a comment here from Mark Frohmeyer himself, and he addresses, from the official Arcimoto account, addresses everything. And I thought this was super fascinating. I immediately then engaged with Mark, interviewed him on the channel, made another video about Arcimoto, was kind of convinced. I was like, okay, yeah, they don't have cash. It's tough to get cash. Tesla struggled getting cash. Tesla struggled with profitability. But these guys are trying to get through production. They have a huge backlog. There's a ton of potential here. And it's just really exciting. It's a local Pacific Northwest company. I eventually made all these videos about Arcimoto. You can see on HyperChange, factory tour, riding through it on spectacles, covering the company, rode through them in New York, made all these videos about Arcimoto, even interviewed Mark's mom. I'm still homies with Mark too. He's a great guy, and shout out to Mark. So went to Oregon a bunch of times to, analyze the company, work on strategic prospects, scheme with the management team, and then eventually sort of naturally decided to join the board of directors. I was scheming with Mark and I was like, what if I join the board of directors of Arcimoto? And so when I was 27, on January 8th, 2021, joined the board of directors of a public company worth few hundred million bucks as a YouTuber. I thought this was pretty insane. And this is the press release from that day. Joined the board of directors, got behind the scenes, went from YouTuber covering the company, friend of the company, to an executive at the company, or board member, I guess, and kind of seeing that executive management team side. So just this massive transition. And then things sort of started to fall apart here. And I don't want to say anything I'm not supposed to or talk bad about Arcimoto, but I'm trying to just give the whole story here. So basically, how can I put this? The company had a lot of potential, and heading up to being on the board of directors, I was super excited about it. But then the more when I got on I had about $10,000 worth of stock. I never got paid anything to be on the board of directors. I actually only got paid in stock, which I never sold or even have ever accessed. And I actually bought stock in the open market, which you can see in an SEC filing, while I was a board member, and I've never sold a share. I still own all my shares. So it's not like I, made a bunch of money on this and sold at the top. No, I actually lost money on this and learned my lesson. And that is what it is. You have some winners and some losers. Nobody's perfect. So I feel at the end of the day, I'm bummed I lost money. I feel, even though I never give financial advice and want people to follow me, I do feel a hint of responsibility of like, if people invested, then I stopped covering it. It just wasn't a great situation. And I feel bad if people invested and lost money, honestly, even though, I don't think it was really my fault, but like, I feel bad about it. And I wanted to give a postmortem now. And that's kind of why I'm making this whole video. But went to the board of directors, had a whole bunch of fun talking about the company. Stock is skyrocketing, huge potential, production ramping, joined the board of directors. And then can't talk about the company because I have all these confidentiality agreements. I'm in the board meeting. I mean, the first thing I got to say is my first reaction was like, dude, being on the board of directors sucks. Like, yeah, it sucks. It's just like hours. I probably will never join another board of directors ever. Like it takes maybe Tesla, but it took so long. Like, and I learned a ton. That's why I'm very excited about it, because I learned so much about what it actually takes to raise a company, how annoying it is that short sellers do all these bullshit lawsuits to fuck over the company, make it super hard to run, how the board of director does diversity hires that then kind of screw over the dynamics of the board. And then we have this person who shouldn't really be on the board, whose voice is there and gets to talk in every decision. And it's just like, I am super ADD. I'm insanely impatient. I love being my own boss. That's why I'm a YouTuber and just do my own thing, start my own companies. And when I was in the board of directors, like, oh, I'll sit down for a 3-hour Zoom meeting and say one thing for 2 minutes that nobody listens to because I'm the youngest person there and everyone has their own agenda and they're not going to listen to it. Like, I was just like, oh my God, what did I sign up for? And I'm not even getting paid for this. And if anything, I'm paying for this because I own stock that's going down and I'm investing in a ton of time driving to Eugene, doing meetings and all this stuff. So, I mean, huge learning lesson, but I was like, oh my God, being on the board of directors is not for me. I can't make videos about it. Everyone wants to hear my opinion. I can't give my opinion. I'm in all these boring meetings. So that was the bad part. The good part though, is as much as they were boring meetings, like this is actually how shit gets decided. Like how many shares are we going to issue? Are we going to raise capital? When are we going to sell stock? How are we going to scheme on the new factory? What's our CapEx deployment plan? All of that stuff was super fascinating. And it just, people don't, I think, understand how much work goes into it. And then the other flip side is how hard it is to ramp an electric vehicle company. This is an appreciation that I had when analyzing Arcimoto. It's just like prototypes are easy, production is hard, like Elon says. And to this day, we've still never seen a successful electric vehicle company launch and get to profitability, including Rivian. And I would put Arcimoto almost like up there, Lucid and Arcimoto as like companies who've brought a couple thousand units to market that are really cool. And like customers have bought them, which is a huge milestone, but nowhere near profitability, probably not going anywhere. Rivian still might make it out, but even them like losing way too much money. So the thing about Arcimoto, I don't even know like where to begin, honestly, but at someday when you're an investor, you're trusting the management team. Okay, are we going to hit these production milestones? Are we going to be able to, like, it's just really hard to like know anything other than trust in the management team. And everything kept getting delayed. Everything cost more than they said it was going to cost. Everything took longer than it said, which is same like Tesla, but it kept dragging out. And like simple changes to the product, like steering like this, or like making it easier to power steer off the bat. It just wasn't, no changes were being made. And this isn't like I'm not saying anything secret of being on the board of directors. Like I don't want to breach my confidentiality or anything like that. Like I'm just stating the facts of like the production ramp was super slow, was super costly. The innovation and hustle, like it just boils down to so much hustle at companies like Tesla and cutthroat cutting costs. And everyone gets on Elon for being an asshole and firing people, but that's what we should have done at Arcimoto, but didn't do. And because everyone wants to be nice and it's a friendly company from Eugene, and then I kind of would like, my ideas to the company were like, why can't we just fire everybody? Like the marketing team isn't doing any marketing. And we're spending $2 million a quarter on marketing. Can we just fire the whole marketing team? And then one thing I am proud of is I worked with like Kenzie and Tiger, shout out to them. They were like 2 interns who were working on content that started to go viral, tried to push to give them more and more autonomy in the company. They launched the TikTok, managed that. It was the fastest growing social account Arcimoto had. So I felt like I'm kind of proud of the couple moves that I was able to make in the political finesse of Arcimoto, but it was so rigid and so hard to, it just was a little too bureaucratic and slow moving and not a little bit too much kumbaya, not enough cutthroat mentality, which is what I think you need, especially if you're going to be a vehicle manufacturer in this just insanely cutthroat industry where every penny counts and every second counts. And so I don't know. I just kind of got less and less confident in their ability to execute as I was a board member and kind of like stepped away, so to speak. I was like, look, I'm not going to shit on Arcimoto. I don't want to talk about it publicly, but I'm also like not going to keep putting my name behind it and just like kind of didn't realize what I was getting into at the time. Like, it was also exciting and fun. And then you get behind the scenes and you're like, holy shit, we're messing everything up. Like everything's delayed. Like, it's not going. And then, I was watching with everyone else and seeing like production targets get missed, goals get missed, cash burn accelerate, getting more desperate for cash, dilution continuing. And so I just immediately opted to like leave the board of directors as soon as I could, basically. And, so I only did like my shortest tenure, which I think was like technically 18 months. And I guess I technically got paid some stock for that, which I don't even know how to access and wouldn't care to access it or sell it, even if I could, because it's just not worth it. I'd rather just be like, I never sold or took any money. And I still literally have my shares from Arcimoto. So I don't know. I'm kind of like, I want to make this video to like tell people what's up with Arcimoto. And my thoughts on the company. I mean, high level, I realized, and a lot of stuff happened towards the end of Arcimoto, which you can Google and find out yourself. I don't want to get too much into, but it got pretty messy. And basically, Mark, who brought me on, got kicked out of the company. And that's just an unfortunate situation. And that was at a horrible time to have the founder leave. Things were in disarray, and I don't think that helped anything. And so then they've since ceased operations. I don't even know what the stock's at, like 80 cents now. I don't even know what's happening with Arcimoto. I haven't even talked to anyone at the company for a year now. But my take on it was, like when Elon says starting a vehicle company is hard and you don't want to get into this business, like you do not want to get into the vehicle production business. Take number one. Take number two, honestly, yeah, you got to be nimble. You got to be cutthroat. You got to be willing to fire a ton of people quickly, make insane hires, recruit the best talent, have just this insane level of discipline. But the other thing I really took away from Arcimoto, and why I'm kind of like, I'm personally, it sucks that I lost a little bit of money, but my Tesla gains crushed that, and I didn't. So I'm like, okay, like overall I did great, but I'm kind of like, I don't know. Part of me is a little bit bummed because I loved the vision of Arcimoto, and I still do. Like this idea that the car is too big and it's too bulky, and most passenger trips are, 1 to 2 people, but I have space for 5 in my Model Y. That's inefficient. And so, when Arcimoto had higher MPG than a Model 3, and you could use it for a lot of the same use cases. So I still love that idea. I still love the vision that micromobility, that the car, I hate that our cities are built around cars. I hate the road. I hate concrete. I hate loud, big things. And I guess they're not as loud if they're EVs, but like just the idea that the car runs society. Like a lot of my friends live in LA, and LA is cool because they live there. But dude, the whole idea of just driving everywhere and being locked in a little island of where you can be surrounded by cars and just pollution and just cement and tires and it's just disgusting. And I hate how our cities are designed around that. So to me, Arcimoto was like hope for a new way to get around cities. And I really hope Tesla and the other futures who build the mobility future will think about how can we redesign cities without the car being such a focal point of every single little neighborhood and making things more walkable. So I thought Arcimoto represented like that vision of a new type of mobility, like 0 to 1 thinking, what do we really need? And you think about what Tesla's doing with the robotaxi that could potentially be 2 people, they're kind of leaning in that Arcimoto-esque direction. I still think it's like, I'm learning, I'm an investor, I'm not always going to be right. Like, I think it's important, and that's kind of why I started HyperChange, like, and kind of a different philosophy than CNBC or what you've seen a lot of other financial media where they tell you like, here's our wins, here's what we're crushing it at, like and I really want to be open and honest and transparent and just document my journey. And that's a big part of investing is like at Arcimoto, I lost money, but I gained a lot of experience. I gained a lot of education. And I think, now I still analyze electric vehicle companies all the time, reviewing in the stock market. I do that, for my work as a hyperguap, as a venture capitalist. I'm looking at constantly electrification companies, and I think I'm 10 times better analyzing them after seeing Tesla and Arcimoto and being on the ground at Arcimoto, watch them trying to build a factory, watch them trying to ramp production, talking to the management team, visiting them for hours and hours, testing the vehicle, seeing them try and raise capital, seeing them trying to hit these milestones, seeing them trying to communicate with investors and bankers and deal with lawyers and all that bullshit at once. Like, I feel like I learned so much, which is making me more valuable. Every single investment is a case study that you can learn from, whether it's a win or a loss. And so I'm trying to take that with Arcimoto is like, yeah, I'm not perfect. It messed up. I'm taking the L. It's okay. I'm going to move on. That's why you scale into your bets as you have more conviction in them. Still kind of bummed. Technically, Arcimoto still is a stock and they're still like trying to finesse. So I wish them all the best with that and trying to survive and stuff. But I have no affiliation with the company other than just holding the stock that I've always had, which is kind of worth nothing now. But other lesson I would say is like building a company just in general is extremely hard. A lot of people want to tout, ooh, we're raising money. We're at this valuation. We got this many this many that. And all that matters at the end of the day is building a business. How much are you profitable? How much money are you making? Are you selling your widget for 20 grand when it costs 15 grand? Or are you selling it for 20 grand when it costs 30 grand? So you just got to make the economics and profitability work. And that's super hard. And everyone loves to get lost in the sauce of the hype, the partnerships, the PRs, the stock value, the guap raised. And it just all boils down to, can you build a business? And that's the only thing that matters. And I feel like I'm going to be extremely picky about ever investing in another vehicle business, OEM, because I think Tesla is not setting up a playbook for a bunch of other profitable companies that are going to look like Tesla. This is a space you want to get into. I think this is not a space you want to get into. I think this is super low ROI, mega capital intensive, extremely difficult, not high margin, undeserved of a lot of the hype it's gotten. The electric vehicle industry as a whole is just not a business you want to be in. I think Tesla is going to be a rare exception in terms of building a great business in this space. That's another thing I learned. So much of this boils down to management and people. Companies are really just people at the end of the day. Can your leader do what it takes to lead the company? And I guess that sounds corny, but like, that's another big thing when I'm analyzing companies, people, making sure you have A+ people at the game. I mean, I don't know. At the end of the day, though, I also like want to give a shout out to Arcimoto and all the people there and Eugene that I met and all the, people I work with there, because I had so much fun and learned so much. And I have nothing but like love for them and being like, you know what? You tried, you gave it an amazing shot. It might work. I'm not saying it won't, but the chances are lower judging by the stock price. But, I have nothing but like love for all those people and just being like, damn, like that was a good experience. So many people worked, you can laugh at Arcimoto all you want, but it's like, why don't you try and build a company? Like, why don't you try and build a vehicle that's totally new from the ground up that gets delivered to 1,000 people? That's a huge accomplishment. So I think there's a lot of ways to look at it, but I think when you look at the arc of history, I don't think the car will dominate forever. I think there will be new form factors of electric vehicles that look very similar to the Arcimoto, more similar to the Arcimoto than more similar to the cars on the road today. And that will dominate in the future. And our cities will look totally different. And there's still going to be, an Arcimoto will be a big milestone in automotive history of like, well, this is a company that tried something new. And like, it didn't really work, but it kind of worked. And it kind of worked enough to push the form factor of a smaller EV forward. So in the grand scheme of like humanity and society, I think Arcimoto has advanced the conversation of what an electric vehicle can be and what the form factors of transportation are, and thinking outside the box in a way that frankly Tesla hasn't yet, of just a different form factor. And I think I'd encourage Tesla, my biggest investment, to think aggressively about new form factors for electric vehicles that are different and how that can combine with new cities, because it's not like we're designing these things in a vacuum. It's, cities and travel and everything is all intertwined. And I think if there's a way to design a city where maybe cars get us in between cities, but in cities we have walking everywhere with localized electric micromobility, I think that's a much better future. And so I still like that vision. Part of me is a little bit sad that like there's all this momentum, there was a huge factory, and then it seemed to kind of fizzle and they had to halt operations. Like, that's kind of a bummer. I mean, I have some extra swag. I don't know. If you really want, like, I guess that's all I got from Arcimoto is some free swag. So I'm repping it. I think it's kind of a collector's item now. Okay, so this is kind of a random funny story, but so you see that painting right there? I'll get it. So this is a painting I did, which I think is pretty cool. So my whole thing with this painting was I was going to give this to Mark, and I only painted it when Arcimoto's valuation was over $1 billion. And I was going to do Trace Comas, like the Silicon Valley joke. Like, we're $1 billion company, so it's like blue for Arcimoto, and then it's like Trace Comas for like, we hit $1 billion valuation, but it only hit $1 billion for like 2 days. So I painted the background for like 2 days. And then we never went back up to a Billy, so I've just paused it. And now I have this like memento of like Arcimoto hitting a Billy, but it kind of not really justifying it. And so I don't know if this is just random and nobody gives a shit, but that's how into this shit I am. You know what I mean? Like, it's really my life. It's not like I'm just talking about these companies and not giving a shit. Like, I really care about, the companies, and it's a big part of my life. And, it's not just about like investing and making WAP, but it is about investing in the future you believe in and working with people that you like. And so, I put my soul in the stuff, and I make art about it because I like to. And so, I don't know. I just think this is a funny side story about Arcimoto. That wraps up my analysis. This is HyperChange. Less of an exciting episode, but I felt like I owed y'all an Arcimoto update. Post-mortem, just what's happened with the whole story. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Wishing them the best. Sending love to Eugene. Learning my lesson. Scheming on the future of mobility. Shout out to Mark Frohmeyer, who put a lot of his life on the line to make this company get as far as it did. So that deserves some props too. And anyway, see y'all next time. Would love to know what you think in the comments below. Appreciate y'all for hearing me out. Peace.